All right, you tell me what's better. Another walk-off bomb, a tournament W without your best players, or another 6'3" big body beast wide receiver projected to be a Cowboy.
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
How are we feeling, Big 12 country? My name is Cody Stovall. Welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State. We get to talk recruiting. We recently covered whether Carson White or Luke Babin could be the next quarterback in line to get Oklahoma State under Eric Morris to that classification of a quarterback destination school. Getting those top-tier wide receivers and running backs, that is the normal thing at Oklahoma State. That is the expectation. So now we get to talk about Jordan Williams, 6'3", 195-pound West Virginia, out of the Houston, Texas area. Katie Jordan is a team that we need to pay attention to primarily because of Landon Williams. Landon Williams has exploded on the scene primarily recently. I know Eric Morris does not have an affinity for 7-on-7. He already discussed how it is crazy, some of the language used, some of the conversations had, some of the coaches running on the field and making things complicated. He views it as chaos, which is why I only work with End Zone 7-on-7, Prospect Sports 7-on-7, Epic Sports 7-on-7. Because, yeah, it can get crazy and it can get away from what it is intended to be, which is a way for you to perfect your craft. And as a wide receiver, 7-on-7 is typically a good thing. This previous season, as a junior, he only got to play 10 games, but in that 10 games, he was able to average 14.7 yards per catch at 530 yards, 6 touchdowns on 36 receptions. The year prior, his sophomore season, 34 receptions, 452 yards, 5 touchdowns at 13.3 yards per completion, which puts him at a 14-yard per completion average, just under 1,000 yards. And you don't necessarily calculate yards in the 7-on-7, so it's a little bit different. But if you were to calculate yards in 7-on-7, this young man would have probably equaled that 500, 600-yard mark just in this last circuit. So he has exploded on the scene, even after a little bit of a short season this previous year. You know I love to do the comps. Whenever you look at him play the game, he looks a lot like Marcell Ateman. Matter of fact, he reminds me of an individual that I tried to help get to Oklahoma State, Reggie McNeil, just a couple years ago. We had the defensive staff that was kind of, in the recruiting realm for him, but his offensive capabilities are really where he wanted to shine in college. And luckily he's had the capabilities to do that. Landon Williams is very reminiscent whenever he's on a 7-on-7 field. Some people get out there, for highlights. Some people get out there for stats, for recognition, for awards. But some people simply get out there because they love the game of football. They love to play both sides of the ball. They love to showcase their leadership abilities. They love to direct traffic. And his ability to do all of that is precisely why I think he could be a Marcell Ateman kind of guy. Being 6'3", 195 pounds, Marcell Ateman came to Oklahoma State, 6'4", 205 pounds. So by the time he graduates high school, I think those numbers could be very comparable when it comes to the track and field stuff. He does run the 200, the 4x2, the 4x4, and he showcased really good hands. A lot of his routes are very simplistic because of his ability to outmuscle individuals. We talked about in the portal, Oklahoma State seemingly had a type, right? They were going after a lot of these 6'3", 6'4", 6'5" guys to go alongside the slot wide receivers that obviously Oklahoma State's always had a plethora of. So I think Eric Morris knows getting slot guys, that's his bread and butter. That's his cup of tea. That's what he did and played at Texas Tech. So he can obviously help identify that talent. He is known as the quarterback whispering guru. Yes, but you have to have dudes to throw it to. And On3 Sports currently projects that Landon Williams is going to be a Cowboy over Texas Tech, over Iowa, over Houston, over San Diego State. This is a big get for Oklahoma State. On3 currently has his projection at 66% to be a Cowboy, 20.5% to be a Red Raider. And then you got schools like Memphis and Houston, obviously down there a little bit. I think this would be a big deal for Oklahoma State, right? Geographically, this thing makes sense. Right? We discussed how Carson White is a perfect replication of what we could have got out of Graydon Howe with even more potential, probably even more potential on the baseball field that Carson White has. And now you look at the guy who he's got to throw it to. this would be a big get for Oklahoma State. And I think he very well understands that you're going to be able to chunk up the yardage at Oklahoma State now. But the biggest difference is we still have the ability to run the ball, which we're going to talk about a little bit more in a later episode, because the recruiting conversations are starting to heat up. So if you're a consensus 4-star, borderline 5-star wide receiver or running back, Oklahoma State makes sense. And the star rating for Mr. Williams may not be as high as some of the other individuals that we're going after, but I think production is important. I think the evolution in your development is important. And the Oklahoma State staff has clearly seen his development from this, junior year, senior year on, and now on the 7-on-7 circuit is a clear indication that he is a P4 D1 level dude, and we need to give him that opportunity. So I hope On 3 is right here and we get our hands on Mr. Landon Williams to come down and be a Cowboy. This would be a big get for Oklahoma State, and this would send a message once again that if you are a top target and you do want to put up a lot of yards and you want to have a lot of production and you want to be in those conversations with the Des Bryants and the Tylan Wallaces and the Justin Blackmans, this is a spot to do it. People may have forgotten that because we have gotten away from what made Oklahoma State relatively famous, and that is high-flying intensity offensively. We were always going to have 1,000-yard wide receivers. We were always going to have 3,000, 4,000-yard quarterbacks, and we got away from that. And when you have guys like Ollie Gordon and Trent Hallen, I completely understand to some degree getting more 12 personnel, 13 personnel. It's wonderful. But you also got to have the guys on the outside that fit the brand, that represent what Oklahoma State football is. And as a wide receiver, we're in that conversation of wide receiver U. So Landon Williams, come on down, be a Cowboy, be part of that wide receiver U conversation once again in Stillwater, Oklahoma.
I'm Kalia Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. It's officially tournament time, and the number 1 seeds are set. UConn is the number 1 overall seed at 34-0 and will headline Fort Worth Regional 1 at Dickies Arena. Joining the Fort Worth site as a top seed is Texas, leading Regional 3. Out west, UCLA enters at 31-1 and takes the top spot in Sacramento Regional 2, while South Carolina leads Sacramento Regional 4. The first round of the tournament tips off this Friday. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
And Clee's going to hit us with an assist as we go talk about FanDuel right here, right now. March Madness is here. The big games, the tight spreads, the momentum swings every single night, from early tip-offs to late night shootouts. There's always action on the board, and now FanDuel is giving a way for you to turn that energy into an even bigger potential win in a college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay that you want, rivalry games, ranked matchup, whatever fits your needs. You can mix spreads, totals, and player props to match how you see the slate playing out, and you can apply the profit boost to instantly bump up the potential payout. Go safe, go bold, ride with the team that you've been following all year. It's your parlay, your style. You do what you want with it. But now it has more upside. Head on over to FanDuel.com to get started. Of course, that is FanDuel.com. Go there today where you can play your game with FanDuel. Cowboy Hoops gets it done, and the Steve Lutz hate needs to die down a little bit because not only did the Cowboys get a W in the NIT tournament over Davidson, they did it with a mixed bag of a lineup. They did it with a hodgepodge kind of crew. Anthony Roy, the top scorer for Oklahoma State, one of the top scorers in the country, easily one of the top scorers in the Big 12. If he plays this game, it looks probably entirely different from a score perspective, but he didn't play this game. He got benched. So did our other top scoring guard, Vyctorius Miller. Vyctorius has kind of died down a little bit recently. Kanye Clary stepped up. Jalen Curry stepped up. And in this game, Daniel Guetta got to step up, which is precisely why we had to throw our dude into the thumbnail. The Cowboys, without 3 of their best players, because Isaiah Coleman also was unavailable to play, these guys got benched. And whenever it came out that they were getting benched for violation of team rules, the odds of us getting a W are pretty slim. And if you tuned in, the beginning of that ball game was also not going super well for Oklahoma State. Yet they found a way to dig deep, turn the thing around, get a W that a lot of us, I don't think, saw it coming with our top players being out. But Kanye Clarity, once again, takes the charge, leads the way with 20 points for Oklahoma State. How about the big dude down low, Ben Ahmed, continuously getting more time, more minutes, more opportunities, gets almost 30 minutes in this game, chips in 16 points. Christian Coleman chips in another 15. We could go on and on about Christian Coleman, and we've talked about how, it would be great if we could give a body part to get another year for Christian Coleman. Jalen Curry chips in 11 points. Ryan Crotty, I think he made some plays, and he did some things in this game that were positive. But Daniel Guetta's 21 minutes and 11 points, and the three-pointer that really kind of put Oklahoma State over the top. Cole Kirk, he also hit a massive three there at towards the latter half of the game. And Mekhi Ragland, he was able to provide some quality minutes. He was able to chip in 5 points as well from a rebounds perspective. How about Christian Coleman getting 13 boards? The double-double dude does it again. What a great game for Oklahoma State to see the bench guys, to see Daniel Guetta and Cole Kirk and Ryan Crotty and Mekhi Ragland be the ones that found a way to get Oklahoma State this dub. And you know what? Maybe it's a component of missing practice, or maybe there's an NIL component to all of this. There's a lot of speculation as to why those three guys didn't play, but it doesn't seem to be very egregious, right? If it was, I think there would be a little bit more conversations behind the back rows or whatever you might call it. But I do think some of this will come out. It appears as though it is fairly simplistic, though. Maybe just missing a practice or being late to a practice, or I don't know, getting mixed up in debates with the coaches in the middle of practice. Who knows what it is? But hats off to Steve Lutz, who's been taking a lot of heat and been given a decent amount of crap for, we're in the NIT tournament, and that's ridiculous. And at least OU did the respectable thing by bowing out. That is absolutely preposterous, in my opinion. And I think it makes OU look very, very weak. Were they going to be a likely team to host games in Norman? Yeah. Is that a deterrent? Probably. I wouldn't want to host basketball games if I played there as well. So from that angle, I do kind of get it. From Oklahoma State's angle, we needed these minutes for Ben Ahmed, for Mekhi Ragland. That we knew. We didn't know that Daniel Guetta was going to be more involved. We didn't know that Cole was going to be involved to the level that he was. I think at the end of the day, now you have to ask the question, do you bring those guys back for the next game? It depends on why they were sitting out. But if it is simplistic, let's say they were three dudes that showed up late to practice. The next game, what do their minutes look like? Because this is supposedly, right, a meaningless tournament in some people's eyes. And Oklahoma State is good enough to win the whole thing. And I think we just validated that. Because when you're missing your top scorers, the chances of you getting a dub are pretty slim. And the coaching that it took. We can argue all day about the defensive capabilities of this team are not up to snuff. They're not up to Oklahoma State standards. Henry Iba and Eddie Sutton are rolling their graves watching this team play defense a decent amount of time. That's all true. That we can debate all day, every day. But what you cannot debate is what Steve Lutz did, X's and O's wise, to get the Cowboys not only in contention for that ball game, but in a position to win it. Because that first half, especially the beginning of the first half, it didn't look like it was going to go well for our Cowboys. It looked like Davidson was going to have a bunch of perimeter shooting that was going to make life very, very difficult for us. But Steve Lutz found a way to get these guys to buy in, buckle down, and as a team, get a W. And have the bench guys that barely get any minutes were the ones hitting the biggest shots at the end of the ball game to basically secure the thing. I think that all of us can agree, after watching that ball game, this tournament is bigger than even some of the haters want to recognize. We knew we needed to develop some dudes, but now we get to see more. And again, shout out to Daniel Guetta. I personally thought that he was going to be a much bigger factor. Him and Lefteris Montzukas played a couple of years of semi-pro ball overseas. So the game is not going to be complex for somebody like Daniel Guetta. Unfortunately, things didn't work out for Montzukas. But whenever they've played semi-professional ball for a multitude of years, They see things a little bit different. They understand the management of the court a little bit different. So I firmly believe that Daniel Guetta was going to be a much bigger piece throughout the season. And if we look back in the beginning, he started a lot, right? But as the season progressed, it was very, very clear that Kanye Clary was, I don't know, we didn't know he was going to be the leader. So I can't say that's fair. Parsa Fowler was the dude. But after Parsa, we kind of struggled, it seemed like, to find that team leader. It seems to be Kanye Clary. And the fact that both of these guys, Kanye Clary, Jalen Curry, I think you even throw Daniel Guetta into this mix. These are dudes who all have multiple years left. And if we are investing the amount of money that it does very, very, very much seem like we are, 10 mil, 11 mil to basketball. I mean, yes, our two big stars coming in are going to get big payouts, but we likely have the financial ability to keep Kanye Clary, to keep Jalen Curry, to keep Mekhi Ragland, to keep Ben Ahmed. Are we going to have to pick up a portal piece or two? Probably. But shout out to Steve Lutz, because last year in the portal, it does seem like there was a little bit of an emphasis on getting guys that had multiple years of eligibility. Obviously, the outlier being Anthony Roy. And Anthony Roy was brought here to be a premier scorer, which he has been. But the defensive lackadaisical nature at times of Anthony Roy is slightly concerning. I wouldn't be insanely surprised that Anthony Roy is now moving on to preparing for the NBA. I hope that's not the case. I would love to see a full complement of everybody back in the fold for round 2 against Wichita State. And you know what? Bring it on. Bring on the Shockers. Bring on Tulsa. Right? They had to find a way to battle back and get themselves in a position to get a dub. We can make a fun run here. And I think that it almost does send a statement, the right statement for Steve Lutz, that, hey, look at what I can do without the star players. I can draw up things to get us in good contention. You are seeing development. You're seeing these guys get better. Even somebody like Daniel Guetta, who started the season playing a lot and then sat on the bench for the majority of all of conference play for sure. And then he's thrust into a moment. Him and Cole both are hitting shots in big moments after sitting on the bench for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. That is the right preparation. That's the right development. Steve Lutz has these bench guys that were not supposed to play clearly better. And that's all you can ask for as a coach. You want to see your team develop. You want to see your team schematically find ways to win ball games, even when they're not supposed to. And that is precisely what Steve Lutz and the Cowboys did. So shout out to Oklahoma State, Steve Lutz, for getting it done in a big, big way. Speaking of getting things done in a big, big way, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for you to look at your future. And Robinhood is the best in the business for doing literally just that. Get squared away today with Robinhood. If sports are traded like markets, we could put our sports IQ to real-time testing. Well, now with Robinhood prediction markets, we essentially can. It's not just you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction market changes the game. It's people moving the action. So when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game enough, thanks to Friends University, but I never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by the people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you get to decide. Take every trade, play with Robinhood. Now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app to begin today. Get with Robinhood to make sure that your future is a little funner. Indeed, you do need Indeed, especially if you're going through the chaos of hiring. The workplace chaos is already enough, right? Deadlines stack up, your email's going absolutely ballistic, and that one spot that could make it all better is still not filled. That one position, when the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. They're going to help you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for, the right skills, experience, location, etc. So you're not just hoping that the right candidate stumbles upon your post. And here's a cool thing that says all of it. In this time that we've been talking, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you are hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all the boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Spend less time searching, more time actually interviewing the candidates who check all those boxes, because it's less stress, less time, more results. That's what you want. When you need the right person to cut through this chaos, get with Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on Locked On Oklahoma State. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. But if you do need to hire, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. You guys already know by now you need to get squared away today with the Everydayer Club. This is big, right? This is a big opportunity for us to have some fun. Use the code MARCH to get your first month free. If you sign up before the tournament, which tips off this Thursday, obviously you can compete against me in our men's and women's bracket pool in the Discord. The winner of each will get $100 in Locked On merch. The rest of us can commiserate in the members-only chats about how our brackets got absolutely busted. And as a member of the Everydayer Club, you'll get an ad-free version of this show. Again, it's all with a month free if you use the code MARCH. So get squared away today. Locked On OklahomaState.supercast.com. Segment 3 is about baseball, baby. Another walk-off homer for Campbell Smithwick, the catcher from Ole Miss that played like 40 games, almost started 30 at Ole Miss this previous season, who hit like 282. So he definitely was not a scrub. He wasn't an afterthought. He was a major contributor for Ole Miss. Now he comes to Oklahoma State. He walks off against Dallas Baptist, and he gets another walk-off tonight in a game that probably should have never gotten that close. It was a game that we battled back and forth, but we got the dub. Campbell Smithwick. He seems to have an affinity for rising up in these big, big moments. So congratulations to him for bailing the Cowboys out. The game probably, again, never should have been that close, but it is what it is. We are where we are. Campbell Smithwick got himself a walk-off homer to win it. So should this series have been that close between South Dakota State? No. We won the first game, barely, 5-6, 6-5, whatever. And then we win this game, walk-off style, 11-12, 12-11, call it what you want to call it. And we ran through the pitchers. I got to give a shout-out. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't think that we have seen, Drew Blake, look quite that good this year. I was very impressed with how he conducted himself. He only got that one inning, but to me, that one inning, he looked very, very good. Parker Jennings, he has a lot of elite stuff. Him and Stormy Rhodes, Kai Fike seem to be guys that, they're leaning towards to be a Tuesday starter, to be a guy that can come in on a Sunday. We got to see a couple new guys take the bump. I know Zager has had a previous opportunity, but, he came up in a big spot today, and the Cowboys found a way to get a dub. Aiden Miola needs to get rocking. Colin Brigham, he made a couple of really, really nice plays, especially with his glove. And I like that in that 5-inning run that we had, the 5-run inning, Colin Bergman was one of the people kind of, leading it off with simplistic natures of baseball, which is to just put the barrel on the ball and let it go where it goes and just see what happens. And sometimes it squirts under the glove of a second baseman and you score a run. Sometimes it kicks off the heel of a shortstop and you get to advance 2 runners and you score a run. Those little things that we did at that stretch where we won like 8-9, 9-10, whatever the case was, before getting swept by UCF. It did look like we were doing a little bit more of that today. And it definitely looked like that we had a plan to not utilize a ton of pitching, because I think after the inning that Drew Blake had, if there was an idea that this was going to be a prolonged ball game, we'd have given him more innings. Like, we've gotten a ton of Brendan Phillips, but we haven't seen a lot of Drew Blake this season. And I think he looked really good in this particular ball game. But Campbell Smithwick coming off the bench, because he didn't even start this game. He came off the bench, immediately was a contributor, hit a single. And then he hits the walk-off homer, his second walk-off homer of the season. And, defensively, I was thinking this during the game. Man, I kind of miss Ian Doherty. I miss having a guy behind the dish that not only would never let balls pass for the most part, but an absolute cannon to get people at second. Campbell Smithwick may not be all of that at 6 foot, 190. He's not Ian Doherty, but he's got a lot of pop. He's got catcher pop for somebody that is only 6 foot, 190 pounds. He may not be the definition of a wall back there. He may not be gunning a bunch of people down at second, but he is reliable. He is dependable. And he's got a pretty big barrel of a bat that can put it out of the ballpark. So congratulations to the Cowboys, Campbell Smithwick in particular, on finding a way to get this thing done. Speaking of getting things done, I reckon that'll be all for us as well. So appreciate what you do. Hit the like if you liked it. Dislike if you didn't. That's okay too. More importantly, share, comment, and subscribe. Go check out the Everydayer Club, LockedOnOklahomaState.supercast.com. I'm all podcasting people out there. You are everything that makes this work. Go do what you do, because without you, this would be a hodgepodge of madness in and of itself. Go hit the stars. Leave us some reviews. Alrighty, y'all. You know the drill. We're out of here. Later, taters.